Good evening, members. Yes. I would like to welcome members to this full council meeting here at the Mechanics Theatre and thank our host, Burnley Leisure, for accommodating us. Can I ask members of the public not to talk during the meeting, as this can be very distracting for members of the council and others listening to the debate. Can I also ask everyone to ensure any mobile devices are switched to silent and do not cause a distraction during the meeting. I would remind everyone that the use of mobile devices for the taking or making of phone calls is not permitted in the meeting. I would also remind members that they are required to stand when addressing the council meeting if you are able. We are not expecting a fire alarm tonight, but if one should occur, please follow the mechanics staff and officers out of the venue to the assembly point in the car park to the rear of the town hall. The meeting is being streamed and I would like to welcome those watching on the council's YouTube channel. When members are invited to speak, please wait for a microphone to be brought to you. At the end of the meeting, please exit table by table. Thank you. Item 1 on the agenda, minutes of the previous meetings of the 20th and 28th of October 2021. I will move those minutes. Madam Deputy Mayor, will you second those minutes?
I second those minutes, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. There are 3 to sign, so please just bear with me. Item number 2 on the agenda, declarations of interest. With regard to item 5D on the agenda, fees and charges, I can confirm that the monitoring officer has given a dispensation to allow members to participate in this item in respect of the council's car parking scheme and the green waste collection scheme, as the number of members affected would prevent the business from being transacted. Are there any other declarations of interest? Councillor Fewings.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 5B and 5C, the nature of interest is part owner of a property on Lower St James's Street, which is in the Heritage Action Zone, and there is a grant contract in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fewings. Those declarations are noted. Thank you. Item number 3 on the agenda, Mayor's communications.
There are none, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 4 on the agenda, public question time.
Mr. Mayor, we have a request from Jennifer Braddock to address the council.
Okay, thank you. Ms Braddock, would you like to come forward, please? Yes, please do remove your mask, that's fine. And you have 5 minutes in which to speak. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Mayor and councillors, I am here tonight on behalf of Burnley Lane Residents Action Group, who some of you will know have been active for approximately 20 years. We are very concerned that our area has deteriorated so much. Recently, we have had several cannabis farms and a prostitute advertising on the internet. During the summer, a group of around 25 young people who look between 10 to 14 years of age, have plagued the area. They've been seen throwing eggs at cars and buildings, especially on Brightcliffe Road. Barriers round roadworks and buildings have been pulled over. They climb onto the waste bins by Bernardo's and scatter the contents all around. They will cross roads without looking and completely block streets. If cars pip their horns, they respond by using rude hand gestures. On the 28th of August, they invaded the scout group who were on the tennis courts within St Cuthbert's grounds. The leaders managed to get the scouts inside, but struggled to keep some of the group out. The police were contacted, but no one was available, and they received a call the following day to ask if all was well. This doesn't seem to be appropriate, especially with all the safeguarding procedures that are now in operation. Although we are within a selective landlord licensing area, we feel that some elements are just not working as well as it should. Some houses have too many residents for the number of bedrooms available. Other houses seem to change occupants quite often, some after only 3 weeks. Then we have houses where antisocial behaviour and drug dealing takes place. When any of these problems are reported, most are dealt with quickly and efficiently, and we thank the officers for their effort. Drug dealing takes place all around the area. Brightcliffe Road car park, although covered by CCTV, is a regular haunt, especially at night. Dealing in the street is commonly seen, also at several addresses. The dog bin on Fraser Street disappeared at the beginning of the pandemic, and despite being reported, it has not been replaced. Consequently, the area around have a lot of feces deposited on them. Following an accident several months ago on Corn Road, when a car demolished the bus shelter, waste bin, bollards, and finished up on Burnley Town and Battery car park, the waste bin has never been replaced. Fly tipping is another big problem. The front and side of Barden House are constantly being reported and cleaned up. I have also been told that the Paradise Club car park is also a problem. The rear of 46 Brightcliffe Road is another regular inform and clean up space. Some back streets have been horrendous. When reported, these are promptly cleaned up, and again we thank the workers concerned. But nevertheless, the root cause needs to be addressed. Some back streets have had alley gates installed, but are constantly left open. Randall Street, Rawson Street, and Townley Street, Wynotham Street, just to mention 2. The gate by 16 Brennan Street had the lock damaged approximately 2 years ago and has not been repaired. The lock at the rear of 55 Brennan Street and 23 Walpole Street seems to have been damaged, even though it had just been replaced after someone stole the previous one over 12 months ago. Corn Road and Brightcliffe Road are also plagued with fast, noisy cars speeding round them. Cars have also been seen speeding round Brightcliffe Road car park and then speeding off parallel to each other down the main road. Corn Road is full of litter most days, despite the best efforts of the man who cleans it up. This litter can be from McDonald's, KFC, Santa's, Manchester Sweet Centre and Cha-Cha-Chai, among others. This is obvious because of the printed containers. We also feel that Corn Road has become the fast food way to Burnley, rather than the gateway to Burnley. We are also concerned that some of these establishments have not had change of use applications and wonder if they have had environmental health checks and appropriate waste services. Out of 53 shops, there are 20 takeaways, 5 grocery stores who sell sandwiches and similar foods, a bakery, fruit and vegetable shop and 1 butcher's. So over half are food type shops, which does not include Lidl and Home Bargains, who also sell food products to eat in the street. These are just some of the examples of our problems, and hope you understand why we are so concerned. During the last few years, we feel that we have only been supported by one of our elected councillors.
Can you please wind up your remarks, Mrs.
And would like to put
Braddock,
our thanks
please.
on record for her help. Thank you for listening to me tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Councillor Harbour, could you please respond to Ms. Braddock?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the resident who's just been to speak to us. And I'm sorry to hear about the various complaints across all council services. I think, but it's bigger than that. I think, and you've acknowledged that yourself. We're talking about young children going around there causing problems. I would argue there that there's a role there for Lancashire County Council's Youth Service. There's a role for the police and the response times, and it's a problem for all of us. So this authority on its own can't solve that problem. I'm pleased that you acknowledged when you addressed the council there that every time, or the majority of the times, the council is contacted, whether it's selective licensing team or street scene, they come out and clean up as quickly as possible. And I'm grateful for you for saying that. But as I said, I think all the council from all parties and the officers who've heard this tonight will look at what you actually said, will test our procedures, and will make sure that we giving the service to you and your fellow residents that you deserve. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harbour. Councillor Anwar, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much, Ms Braddock, for raising the concerns. And as we just heard from Councillor Harbour, there's wide-ranging issues that have been brought up across a number of services. But as you just heard, also service issues that we need to deal with in a multi-agency approach. So we need to work with Lancashire County Council. We need to get the police on board. Dealing with the issue of the antisocial behaviour that you're experiencing, particularly in the Queensgate and Lanehead areas, you might be aware that there is a multi-agency group that is set up by the council called MATAC, and I think the first thing that we need to do is, with regards to a number of those issues that you've brought up, is that as councillors, what we will do is highlight that with MATAC to ensure that they can look into some of those issues. With regards to the wider issues that you've mentioned around some of the things that need replacing, or the fly tipping that's taking place, or even some of the issues around speeding, again, some of those can be picked up via MATAC, but I think what we will do as a council and what we will do as an administration is all the issues that you've brought up there, we will look at those and address those and try to find a long-term solution for those as well, by working together with all the different agencies that I've just mentioned there. Thank you, Mrs. Braddock.
Thank you. Item number 5 on the agenda, items for decision by the Council. Can I point out to members that items for decision by Council are treated as motions. Once a proposal has been moved and seconded, members may speak once and for a maximum of 5 minutes. Members may then only speak again on an amendment. Will members please note that the relevant minute extracts from the 1st of December 2021 executive meeting relating to items have been published on members' iPads as a supplementary to the agenda pack, and the relevant decisions for full council have been highlighted in bold in each minute. Item 5A, report of the Independent Remuneration Panel. I understand that the IRP members are unable to join us this evening to present their report, but I would like to put on record the Council's gratitude for them giving up their time in assisting us in setting a members' allowance scheme. I would also like to remind members that at this stage the report is for comment only, and a final decision on the members' allowance scheme will be made at the Budget Council in February. In addition, I would like to clarify that the allowance shown in the table of the IRP's reports for the group leaders' allowance should read opposition group leaders, and this will be amended accordingly. Councillor Afrasiab Anwar, with that amendment, will you move that the report be noted? I move the report. Councillor Sue Graham, will you second that? Any member? No? Okay. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Okay, thank you. The report is noted. Item 5B, Revenue Budget Monitoring, Quarter 2, 2021-22. Councillor Fewings, will you please leave the room having declared an interest? Thank you. Councillor Sue Graham, will you move the report?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the report. It's a statement of position as it was at the end of September. And although you'll see that there's an overspend of £86,000, this is less than half of the overspend from the first quarter. And I'm confident that spending will even out further during the final 2 quarters of the year. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Afrasiab Anwar, will you second the report?
I second the report, Mr Mayor.
Any member? No? Okay. All those in favour, please show. All those against, please show. The item is carried. Thank you. Item 5C, Capital Budget Monitoring, Quarter 2, 2021-22. Councillor Sue Graham, will you move the report?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I also move the Capital Monitoring Report Quarter 2. It has been through scrutiny without comment, and it is, as is the previous report, a statement of position as it was at the end of September. There's no suggestion that there'll be underspending or failure to complete projects at this stage. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the report.
Thank you. Councillor Afrasiab Anwar, will you second the report?
I second the report, Mr Mayor.
Any member? Okay. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. All those against, please show. The item is carried. Can we please call Councillor Fewings back into the room, please? Okay, item 5D, fees and charges from the 1st of April 2022. Councillor Sue Graham, will you move the report?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to move this report. It again has been through scrutiny committee without substantial comment. The main points I'd like to say are that there will be a 2% increase across the board with most of the fees and charges, which is actually less than the current rate of inflation. The exceptions are car parking charges, which remain the same. That's on Burnley Council car parks. Bulky and white goods collection, and cemeteries and crematorium charges. That's for the 2nd year running. I move the report, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Afrasiab Anwar, will you second the report?
I second the report, Mr Mayor.
Any member? No? Okay. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. All those against, please show. The item is carried. Item 5E, Treasury Management Mid-Year Report. Councillor Sue Graham, will you move the report?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to move the Treasury Management Report. I always find it useful to read through this report to understand the worldwide context in which the Council develops its financial management decisions. And Appendix 1 gives a good snapshot of the general financial situation for the Council. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the report.
Thank you. Councillor Fraser-Banwar, will you second the report?
I second the report, Mr Mayor.
Any member? No? Okay. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. All those against, please show. The item is carried. Item 5F, Burnley Council Gambling Policy. Councillor Fraser-Banwar, will you move the report?
I move the report.
Councillor Sue Graham, will you second the report?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I second that report.
Any member? Okay, to the vote. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. All those against, please show. The item is carried. Item 5G, Constitutional Updates Report. Councillor Fraser-Banwar, will you move the recommendation from the report?
I move the report, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Sue Graham, will you second the recommendation from the report?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I second that report.
Any member? To the vote, all those in favour, please show. Thank you. All those against, please show. The item is carried. Item 6, reports from committee chairs. Please can members note that for this item and the next one on strategic plan progress reports, members should not refer to named individuals when asking questions or making observations. Questions on committee matters should be directed to the relevant committee chair rather than executive members. 6A.
Scrutiny.
Okay. 6A, Scrutiny Committee. Councillor Anne Royal, will you please move the report?
I move this report, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Royal. Any member? Okay. Item 6B, Audit and Standards. Okay, with the Chair and Vice Chair are not in attendance this evening, so on this occasion I would ask that if any members have any questions that they submit them in writing to the Democracy Office and a written response will be arranged and be given to you. 6C, Licensing. I believe we're in the same position here. The Chair and Vice Chair are unable to be with us this evening. On this occasion, I would ask that if members have any questions, that they submit them in writing to the Democracy Office and a written response will be arranged to be given to you. Item 6D, Development Control. Councillor Anne Kelly, as Vice Chair, will you please move the report?
Mr Mayor, I move that report.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Any member? Okay. Move to item 7, Strategic Plan Progress Reports. I will take each report in order. I will ask for any questions on the report and the executive member will respond to one question at a time. The same procedure will then be followed for observations. Can I remind members with a question or observation to clearly quote the page number and reference? Also, will members please be concise with their questions and observations? Council Leader, Councillor Fraser-Banwar, will you please move your report?
I move my report, Mr Mayor, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay, we'll move straight to any observations. No? Okay. Deputy Leader and Executive Member for Resources and Performance, Councillor Sue Graham, will you please move your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to move my report. I'd just like to mention that draft climate change strategy is to be considered by the Executive in January and will be circulated for wider consideration in the new year. A couple of other points about carbon literacy. The carbon literacy training is being provided for all council staff, and I've asked that members receive the same training at about the same time so that we can all better understand the issues that we will be dealing with. And I just want to make a further point. You'll have seen perhaps on the news this evening that staff are being asked to work from home as from Friday under what is it, Plan B, that the government's brought into being. Council staff have been gradually returning to work in the town hall over the past few months, and managers have been emphasising the importance of staff being in the office for part of the time. Now, obviously, that will have to be rethought following the current guidance. But in closing, I'd like to put on record my thanks to staff who've been very responsive, given all the disruption that they've had over the last few months. Their working patterns have changed such a lot, and they've had to respond accordingly. It would have been impossible to keep up the high levels of performance that we have had if we hadn't had the support of officers in doing this. And I'm sure everybody here will join me in thanking all the staff of the council for their work in doing this past year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Are there any questions? Thank you. Councillor Cunliffe.
Thank you, Mayor. Just on behalf of the Green Group, I'd just like to take this opportunity to say Merry Christmas to everybody. There's a little present here. I've not brought a motion to tonight's proceedings. I'm sure that normal service will continue in January. But just on page 125, PL5, I welcome that at long last carbon literacy training will be coming to the council and to officers. And on that, I do second Sue's sort of commendment to officers throughout the my first 8 months of being a councillor. They've been very reactive and very responsive and very warming to me, and as I'm sure they are to everyone. So I do second that. But on this PL5 and on the climate change strategy, I have emailed Councillor Graham saying that, again, reiterating from what I reiterated at full council last time, that I am very open to collaborating on this process, and I welcome collaboration on looking at the draft, and I've swapped several emails with Councillor Graham on seeing this draft, and hopefully we'll see that soon, as it is a climate emergency. I just want to ask Councillor Graham on this, that can you confirm that will go out to all groups, all political groups on the council? As I listened to Councillor Anwar speak on Monday night at a forum on climate change and green jobs, this is a responsibility for us all. We're all involved in this, and it's not about one party to take control of climate change and our sort of adaptation to, and our strategies for dealing with it. So can you confirm that all parties, all 5 parties on the council, will be asked to collaborate on this, and it will come across so we can have one big group effort on this, because it does need to be from us all, for all our residents, for the safety of current residents and for the future safety of future residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to Councillor Cunliffe's question there. I think it's only right that the draft strategy is circulated to all political groups at the same time. I wouldn't really do any otherwise. So yes, the answer to that question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay, we'll move. Any observations? No? Okay. Moving on. Executive Member for Health and Wellbeing. Councillor Margaret Lishman, will you please move your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will move my report, and in doing so, for anybody who hasn't yet heard the news, we've moved to Plan B from Friday. So things I was going to tell you, like the mechanics have still got their Christmas parties scheduled, but they are getting a number of cancellations, as you would expect, particularly from people who've worked in the NHS, and I'm sure you'll be aware that there's a message gone out to NHS staff not to mix more than they need to in order to make sure that we've got enough staff as the wards start to fill again, unfortunately. So the mechanics have brought in rules that it's face masks if you're coming to a party, except when you're sitting with your party. And they're also asking for a lateral flow or a booster. So in some ways, the mechanics has been ahead of the guidance that has just come in, which seems to mirror that. So I'm delighted to say that they are. But it does mean that the mechanics may end up with some shortfall of funding again, like many other places throughout the town. In addition, I would say that the reason for Plan B, as I understand it, is to slow down the infection rate, which I think is going to be hard when the average seems to be that it is doubling every 2 to 3 days with the Omicron virus. But the plan is to slow it down to enable people to have their boosters. And I would say to all of you now, I know that a note has gone out from Ron Dodson to all councillors today, showing the wards where we've got particular issues with regard to boosters. But to say to all of you, over 40s, there are drop-in sessions at the Mall. There are also ability to make appointments either to ring 119 or to look on the web to get your booster. The evidence is clearly coming through that 2 vaccinations plus a booster means your chance of surviving any of this variant that's about at the moment are greater. So that's the advice we as councillors have a duty to start talking to our constituents about. Moving on to nicer things, you may have seen the piece from Burnley on the web, on Facebook, about us getting the Gold Award from the Royal Horticultural Society for the flowers in the middle of the town centre. And I know lots of you have seen lots of praise for the town centre, particularly the wildflower. So those were the only bits I wanted to add. I'm sorry the news on Plan B is not more reassuring to us all, but seems this variant has still got more to give. I am happy to take any questions and move my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lishman. Any questions? Okay, any observations? Councillor Fewings?
Thank you, Mayor. It's quite a difficult one to say where it is. Oh no, actually I've got it now. PE 2159. It's just on the cultural strategy. I note that Burnley Leisure has begun work on that, and I'm really pleased to see that come forward. My observation is that I hope that it will be an engagement with the artists in the town rather than, you know, just the council and councillors. I think it's really important that we speak to the actual artists in the town. So I just wanted to make that observation. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Lishman, would you like to respond?
Happily, thank you, Mr Mayor. I absolutely agree, Councillor Fewings. I've just had a first draft copy and I will share that with you. I have also seen the list of who it's going out to, but if there's anybody on that list you feel isn't there that should be there and people that you think should be included, absolutely share as much as you like. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further observations? No? Okay. We move on to Executive Member for Housing and Development Control. Councillor John Harbour, will you please move your report?
I'll move my report, Mr Mayor.
Are there any questions? Are there any observations? Okay, move on. Executive Member for Community and Environmental Services. Councillor Afraziab Anwar, will you please move this report on behalf of Councillor Foster?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the report. And we'll take any questions.
Any questions? Councillor Hosker?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Page 166, PR1. I'm concerned on fireworks issues. I spoke this over with Anwar himself, and I spoke it over with other councillors. It's getting beyond joke what's happening on bonfire night now. When you get fireworks thrown at police officers and fire brigade, you're getting pets with their legs blown off with fireworks. You're getting fireworks thrown at old people. I think it's a time this council, and along with other councils, got a grip, and I think we should do something about it. I don't think the rules are tight enough. Either go back to organised bonfires or put a restriction on sale of fireworks. I've mentioned this at full council. I'm going to be mentioned at full council at Preston. I've spoken over at leader at Preston Council, Philippa, and I'm going to put a motion in shortly. And I just want to know what general feeling is. Our council here, councils in general, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hosker. Councillor Anwar, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And I thank Councillor Hosker for bringing this up as an issue. And as Councillor Hosker and many others in the chamber will be aware, this bonfire night we faced many issues with regards to fireworks and the way that particularly the emergency services were targeted by youths right across the town, but it seemed to be a trend that was taking place right across different parts of Lancashire as well. But it's not acceptable. And I remember on the evening on that night, myself, along with Councillor Khan, Wajid Khan and Councillor Ishtiaq, also went out to try and disperse some of the youths that were out that night and worked alongside the police and the fire service to try and calm things down. So totally understand where Councillor Hosker is coming from with regards to this issue. But as Councillor Hosker is also aware, this is not something, the legislation is not tight enough and the powers that we have as a council are not strong enough for us to take the required action. And so I agree with Councillor Hosker. I think what we need to do is we need to have a joint working and a joint approach, whether that's Burnley Council writing to the MP or whether it's Burnley Council and Lancashire County Council writing to central government and asking for tighter controls around this. So I'm happy to and will work alongside Councillor Hosker on this. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Are there any other questions? Are there any observations? Next item, Executive Member for Economy and Growth. Councillor Sue Graham, will you please move this report on behalf of Councillor Raja?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Raja, who unfortunately can't be here with us tonight, has sent me all his speeches that he was going to make, all three of them. I'm not going to read them out. if anybody wants a copy of them, I'm happy to send them. I'll move Councillor Raj's report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Are there any observations? Okay. Item number 9, questions.
None have been received, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you everyone. That concludes the business for tonight's meeting. May I take this opportunity to wish you all a very peaceful and a prosperous new year. Now, it's traditional that the Mayor would normally invite all councillors for a drink following this council meeting. In light of the news tonight that we have gone to Plan B, and I think Councillor Lishman has explained very clearly, you know, some of the risks around the virus are still there. I think that would be inappropriate at this time, but I would look to see if we can arrange something in the new year when hopefully things are a little bit clearer and we're over this potential, let's hope, a hiccup. So thank you, members, and I wish you all the best for Christmas. Thank you.